Sand sifts between my toes as I watch the sunset paint the Florida Keys sky in shades of orange and pink. It should be breathtaking. It should be the highlight of my day. Instead, my phone pings with a notification that makes my jaw clench. Jessica has sent a selfie. Her and Mark, lounging poolside, tropical drinks raised high. Her caption reads, "Thanks for watching the kids, sis. We needed this alone time." I glanced down at the blue wristband, circling my arm identical to the ones my nieces and nephews wear. Children's access. Not the sleek black bands that grant Jessica and Mark entry to the adults-only areas of the resort. "Aunt Haley! Tyler won't share the shovel!" Emma's voice cuts through my thoughts. I sigh and pocket my phone. "Tyler, remember what we talked about?" 10 minutes each, then switch. But I just got it. 7-year-old Tyler protests, clutching the plastic shovel like it's solid gold. His twin sister Emma stands with hands on hips, a miniature version of Jessica when she doesn't get her way. Meanwhile, 4-year-old Mason dumps a bucket of wet sand directly onto my beach towel. "Look what I made," he announces proudly. "That's wonderful," I say, brushing gritty sand from what was my only clean towel. I force a smile as I glance back toward the resort, where my sister and brother-in-law are enjoying their third child-free evening of this family vacation. 3 months earlier. "We want you to come to the Keys with use all expenses paid." Jessica's voice had dripped honey over the phone. I sat at my desk in my one-bedroom apartment, deadline looming for a marketing proposal. But family always came first. At least, that's what I'd been taught. "Seriously?" I'd asked, already mentally calculating vacation days for my marketing coordinator job. "Absolutely. We've already talked to Mom and Dad. They think it's so generous of Mark and me." I could picture my parents nodding enthusiastically in the background. Any chance to get their daughters together was a victory in their eyes, despite Jessica being 8 years older and on a completely different life path. "That sounds amazing," I'd said, allowing excitement to build. A real vacation. At 25, with student loans and rent in the city, tropical getaways weren't exactly in my budget. "The kids are so excited," Jessica continued. "You can share them with them. They adore their Aunt Haley." Something in her tone should have triggered warning bells. It wasn't the first time Jessica had deployed the kids as emotional leverage. Throughout college, I'd lived at home to save money, while Jessica dropped off her children whenever she needed a break. "Girls are better with kids," Dad would say when I tried to object. "Your sister needs help," Mom would add, as if Jessica's choice to have children somehow obligated me to co-parent. "I'll pay you back," Jessica would promise after last-minute babysitting requests forced me to cancel plans. "I'll take them next weekend so you can study." Those weekends never materialized. My parents dismissed my frustration. "Family helps family," they'd say, as if that explained everything. Back to present. I dig my toes deeper into the cooling sand, watching Jessica and Mark laugh by the resort's tiki bar. 7 days in paradise, and I haven't seen a single sunset alone. Haven't had one meal without cutting someone else's food. Haven't swum without counting heads every 30 seconds. My phone buzzes again. "Can you keep them till 11? We found a great bar." My hands tremble slightly as I type OK for what I silently promise will be the last time. "Never again," I whisper to myself, low enough that the children don't hear. On our final night, we're seated at an upscale restaurant. I'm wearing the only dress I brought that Mason hasn't stained with juice or sunscreen. "We should talk about next year," Jessica says, cutting into her mahi-mahi while I help Emma with her pasta. Mark's thinking San Diego. Same arrangement, of course. The casual way she says it like my time belongs to her. Like my presence on this trip has been a vacation rather than unpaid labor makes something shift inside me. I say nothing, cutting my food with precise, controlled movements, while the decision solidifies behind my eyes. The children chatter excitedly about sea lions and zoos. Mark and Jessica discuss coastal hotels. My parents would expect me to keep the peace, to agree, to put family first. But as I watch my sister take another sip of her wine, as she casually plans to hijack another week of my life, I realize something has fundamentally changed. This vacation wasn't a gift, it was a trap. And I won't be caught in it again. Travel brochures blanket my parents' coffee table like autumn leaves, San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld, Balboa Park. Jessica's manicured fingernail taps a glossy photo of Hotel del Coronado as she commandeers the conversation. "So, we've found this amazing resort package," she announces to our parents, who nod with programmed enthusiasm. 2 connecting rooms with an ocean view. We'll have Mark's corporate discount, so it's practically a steal. Mom clutches her mug of tea, beaming at Jessica like she's announcing a 4th pregnancy instead of a vacation. Dad scrolls through his phone, half listening but making appropriate noises of approval. We'll book 2 rooms again. Haley can take the kids while we... I'll be booking my own room, actually. The words slip from my mouth with surprising steadiness. The living room falls silent. 4 pairs of eyes swing toward me like synchronized puppets. Jessica's finger freezes mid-tap on the brochure. What? Jessica's voice comes out higher than usual. I take a deliberate breath, feeling my grandmother's silver bracelet cool against my wrist. 6 months of private planning crystallize into careful words. I'm booking my own hotel room. I've been researching options in the Gaslamp Quarter. I pull out my phone, opening the bookmarked page I've visited almost daily since our return from Florida. I'm also renting my own car, and I've made a list of sites I want to see. The confusion on their faces would be comical if my heart weren't hammering against my ribs. But who will watch the kids? Jessica's voice has dropped to a whisper, color draining from her face. Mom's nervous laughter scrapes the silence. Honey, that's not practical. Hotels in San Diego are expensive. I've been saving, I reply, scrolling through my hotel options. I put aside a little each paycheck since Florida. Dad waves his hand dismissively, the same gesture he used when I told him I was changing my college major. You're being ridiculous. This is a family vacation. I meet his gaze squarely. Exactly, and I'd like to actually experience it this time. Jessica's careful mask slips. Her eyes narrow as she stands, hands planted on hips. So you're just going to abandon us? After we invited you? After we're paying for your trip? Wait. Mark looks up from his laptop, brow furrowed. I thought you were paying her to babysit? The room temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. My sister's mouth opens, then closes. What do you mean paying her? Dad asks, looking between Jessica and Mark. Mark's confusion deepens. Jessica told me she was giving Haley money for watching the kids on these trips. That's why I never questioned the arrangement. Jessica's face flushes crimson. I buy her dinner sometimes, and let's not forget we covered her hotel room in Florida. The room I shared with 3 children while you 2 had oceanfront privacy. I clarify. My voice doesn't shake anymore, and the occasional pizza doesn't quite equal 60 hours of childcare. Mom touches Jessica's arm. Sweetie, you told Mark you were paying Haley? Don't make this about me, Jessica's voice rises. Haley's the one threatening to ruin our family vacation. I uncross my legs and lean forward. I deserve a real vacation too. I'm still coming to San Diego. I'm still planning to spend time with everyone. I'm just not going to be the unpaid full-time nanny anymore. Jessica's eyes glitter dangerously. This is so selfish. You don't have kids. You don't understand what it's like to need a break. You're right, I say quietly. I don't have kids. That was your choice, not mine. Mark closes his laptop with a soft click. Jessica, did you pay Haley for watching the kids in Florida? The direct question hangs in the air. Jessica's mouth twists. Not with money, but yes or no? Mark presses. Her shoulders slump slightly. No. I pull out my phone again, opening Reddit. I wasn't sure if I was being unreasonable, so I asked for outside perspective. I turned the screen toward my parents. Thousands of people responded. Turns out this isn't normal family helping family. This is exploitation. Jessica lunges forward, trying to snatch my phone. You put our business online for strangers to judge? Dad takes the phone from my hand before she can grab it, scrolling with increasingly troubled eyes. Mom reads over his shoulder, her expression shifting from dismissal to discomfort. Let me see that. Mark extends his hand and Dad passes him the phone. He reads silently, his jaw tightening with each scroll. These people don't know us, Jessica protests, voice trembling. They don't understand our family dynamic. Maybe that's why their perspective is valuable, Mark says quietly, handing me back my phone. He turns to Jessica. You told me you were paying her? Jessica's eyes fill with tear-sure, reliable defense mechanism. You know we can't afford a professional sitter for entire vacations. So you volunteered your sister without compensating her? Mark's voice remains calm, but I recognize the edge in it. Mom clears her throat. Maybe we should all calm down and... No, I interrupt, surprising myself. We're having this conversation now, before any more plans are made. Jessica stands, pointing at me dramatically. She's being selfish. All I asked was for a little help with the kids so Mark and I could have some adult time. That's what family does. Dad rubs his temples. Haley, surely you can compromise. Mark cuts him off. Robert, how much would a week of full-time childcare cost? Dad blinks, caught off guard by the question. Well, I don't know exactly. About $2,000, Mark answers, expression grim. That's what Jessica expected her sister to provide for free. A heavy silence falls. I can almost see the mental calculations happening behind my parents' eyes the first time they've quantified what's been asked of me. Jessica's voice rises to a desperate pitch. If she doesn't help with the kids, we're not going. It's the threat she's always wielded, the family dissolving if I don't comply. But instead of capitulating, I feel strangely calm. That's your choice, I say softly. What happens next surprises everyone. Jessica grabs her purse and storms out, followed by a tight-lipped Mark. My parents exchange glances, uncertain whether to follow. In the sudden quiet of the living room, I remain seated among the scattered brochures, calm in the eye of the storm. I'm still going to San Diego, I tell my speechless parents. Without you. Mark and Jessica's kitchen smells like coffee and tension. Outside, the kids race through the yard, their shrieks filtering through the sliding glass door as they chase each other with water guns. Inside, we stand locked in a standoff that's been brewing for years. Mark drops a thick manila folder onto the Marble Island counter. The sound echoes in the suddenly silent kitchen. Show me, he says to Jessica, voice unnervingly calm. Where you paid, Haley? My sister's shoulders stiffen. She tucks a strand of highlighted hair behind her ear. Her tell when she's cornered. It wasn't always cash, she says. I bought her pizza. Gas money sometimes. And I let her come on vacation with us, she adds, lifting her chin. That's payment enough. Our parents shift on their bar stools. Mom studies her coffee mug like it contains ancient wisdom. Dad clears his throat but says nothing. Mark flips open the folder. Inside are meticulously organized receipts, schedules, and a spreadsheet that makes my heart skip. I've been tracking our expenses for years, he explains, not looking at Jessica. Every babysitter we've hired, every family obligation. His eyes meet mine. Every time Jessica said she was paying you back, and I never expected this from Mark. In all our family gatherings, he's been the quiet one, hunched over his phone, or discussing sports with Dad. Now I see what I missed. The attentiveness, the detailed observations, the growing suspicion. Mark, this is ridiculous. Jessica laughs, but it sounds brittle. Haley's my sister. Family helps family. Family helps family. He repeats, his finger tracing a column of numbers. Then explain why we have $8,700 in our budget labeled childcare reimbursement. That never made it to your sister? The air feels suddenly thin. Mom's hand trembles as she sets down her mug. 8,000? I whisper. Conservative estimate, Mark says. Standard babysitting rates over the past 4 years, not counting overnights at premium rates. He slides a calculator toward Jessica. Want to add it up yourself? My sister's face floods with color. We can't afford that. You know we're saving for the kids' college funds and the kitchen remodel. And San Diego, I add quietly. We had an arrangement, Jessica says, her voice rising. She turns to our parents. Tell them, Haley lived at home rent. Free all through college, she owes us. I missed a job interview. I interrupt, surprised by my steady voice. Last year, when Tyler had the flu, you called me crying because you had that client presentation. Mom looks up sharply. I canceled a date with Alex the night you and Mark went to that concert. You said you'd pay me back with a spa day. I take a breath. I turned down a weekend marketing retreat in Chicago because Mason had his tonsils out, and you said you couldn't handle all 3 kids alone. The opportunities I've sacrificed materialized like ghosts between us. Not just hours or days, but turning points, chances, potential futures, all dissolved by the ring of my phone and Jessica's voice saying, I need you. Dad stares at his hands. We didn't realize. Because you never asked. I say, neither of you ever asked. Mark's jaw tightens as he looks at my parents. You enabled this, all of it. He turns to Jessica. This ends now. He pulls his checkbook from his pocket. The ripping sound as he tears out a check cuts through the kitchen. He writes deliberately, the pen scratching against paper. Jessica lunges forward. Mark, stop. We need that money for San Diego. No, he says, continuing to write. We need to make this right first. When he slides the check across the counter to me, I stare at the number, unable to process it. It's not the full amount he calculated, but it's substantial. More money than I've ever held at once. I start. You can, Mark says. You earned it. Jessica's eyes fill with tears. I can't believe this. My own husband, my own family, all turning against me at once. This isn't about sides, Mom says, surprising me. Her voice sounds stronger than it has in years. This is about fairness. Mark meets my eyes across the table. There's understanding there, an alliance forming in the ruins of old family patterns. I see him clearly for the first time, not just Jessica's husband or my nieces and nephew's father, but a person with his own sense of justice. I'd like to suggest family therapy, he says, still holding my gaze before turning to include everyone. There are deeper issues here we need to address. Therapy? Jessica scoffs through tears. So you can all gang up on me with a professional referee? So we can learn how to be a healthy family. Mark corrects. My father straightens. I think that's a good idea. Jessica stares at him in betrayal. Dad! Your sister deserved better, he says quietly. And your mother and I let it happen. In the silence that follows, I hear the children's laughter from the yard. Their world hasn't changed, but in here, everything has shifted. Mark refills his coffee. About San Diego, he says, as if we're discussing something ordinary, like dinner plans. I guess that's canceled now, Jessica mutters. No, Mark says. But we need new conditions. Separate accommodations respected. A professional babysitter budget included. Clear schedules for family activities with everyone's expectations aligned. No last-minute changes. Jessica's mouth opens in protest, but she looks around the kitchen and sees she's outnumbered. Even our parents are nodding. This isn't what family is supposed to be like, she whispers. You're right, I tell her, folding the check and placing it in my wallet. It's supposed to be better than this. Later, gathered in my parents' living room, we establish ground rules. Dad acknowledges his role in the situation, voice thick with emotion. Mom maps out a schedule for the San Diego trip that respects everyone's time. Mark takes notes on his phone, actively engaging in the planning of family activities and childcare arrangements. I watch Jessica across the room. She's complying, but her eyes dart suspiciously between Mark and me. Old habits die hard, and I wonder if she's already plotting how to return to the comfortable status quo where her needs come first. The check in my wallet feels like a talisman, a physical reminder that my time has value. But as Mark outlines the San Diego itinerary, I know that the real test still lies ahead. A family vacation with new boundaries sounds promising in a kitchen confrontation. But will it hold when we're actually there? The San Diego sun beats down on my shoulders as I hoist my suitcase into the trunk of my rental car. Freedom pulses through my veins with each movement, a stark contrast to last year's Florida Keys nightmare. You're really doing this? Mom asks, hovering near the curb outside baggage claim. Her eyes dart between Jessica and me like she's watching a tennis match where both players might suddenly attack the referee. I am. I slam the trunk with more force than necessary. The sound echoes through the pickup zone, drawing Jessica's narrowed gaze. She stands by their waiting shuttle, arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin line. The twins chase each other in circles around a concrete pillar, while Mason clings to Mark's leg. We'll see you at dinner, I say, sliding my sunglasses into place. Text me the restaurant details. As I pull away from the curb, I catch Jessica's reflection in my rearview mirror. Her eyes follow my car, with the intensity of a predator, whose prey has suddenly grown wings. Mark places a steadying hand on her shoulder and leans close to her ear. Remember our agreement, I imagine him saying, though I can't hear the words through closed windows and growing distance. This is Amber. Jessica announces at dinner, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. She gestures to the college-aged girl with a neat ponytail and professional smile. She'll be watching the kids when Mark and I need some couple time. The oceanfront restaurant buzzes with conversation and clinking glasses. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, waves crash against the shore in rhythmic pulses that match my heartbeat. Amber shakes everyone's hand, professional and poised. I'm studying early childhood education at UCSD. I've been babysitting for 6 years. Jessica's smile doesn't reach her eyes. She leans toward me while the others chat with her. She's not nearly as good with them as you are, she whispers, her breath warm against my ear. Mason already had a meltdown when she tried to help him with his shoes. I take a deliberate sip of my wine, savoring the crisp flavor before responding. She's getting paid to learn. Jessica recoils as if I've slapped her. The next morning, chaos erupts at the breakfast cafe. Tyler upends a glass of orange juice. Emma shrieks that her pancakes are touching her eggs. Mason crawls under the table, grabbing strangers' ankles. "Where's Amber?" I ask, cutting my avocado toast into precise triangles. Jessica examines her manicure. She can't make it until noon. Something about a doctor's appointment. 3 pairs of parental eyes turn toward me, expectant. The weight of their gaze feels familiar, a heavy cloak I've worn for years but recently shed. That's frustrating, I say, taking another bite of my toast. "Haley, could you just—" Mom begins. Jessica's lips curl into a triumphant smile. I hesitate, years of conditioning battling against my newfound resolve. Mark glances at his phone. Strange, she just confirmed she's on her way. Says she'll be here in 5 minutes. The flush that spreads across Jessica's cheeks confirms what I already suspected. Another manipulation. Another lie. Dad clears his throat. I'll take the twins to see the koi pond in the lobby until she arrives. He catches my eye with a nod that might almost be apologetic before ushering the children away. Mom reaches across the table and touches my hand. I'm sorry, Haley. We're still learning too. Everyone gather for a family photo. Jessica calls from the beach blanket. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the sand. I'm 20 feet away, shoes dangling from my fingertips, waves lapping at my ankles. The perfect moment of solitude I've been seeking all day. Haley, she calls again. Don't you want to be part of family memories? The kids' voices join in chorus. Why doesn't Aunt Haley want to be with us? I recognize the setup immediately. If I stay at the water's edge, I'm the villain who doesn't care about family. If I join, I forfeit my hard-won independence. Before I can respond, Mark stands up. She'll be in the next one after someone else takes a turn behind the camera. I'll take this one. Jessica's mouth opens and closes without sound. Her script suddenly useless. You're tearing this family apart. Jessica's voice rises above the restaurant chatter. Tears streak her mascara as she stands beside our dinner table, fists clenched. Heads turn. Conversations halt. A waiter hovers uncertainly nearby. All week you've been absent, she continues. The kids keep asking where you are. What kind of sister chooses strangers at a museum over family time? Mom and Dad exchange glances, their expressions pleading. Fix this, their eyes beg. Keep the peace. Do what you've always done. I set my fork down gently beside my half-eaten fish. The restaurant lights reflect in the pools of Jessica's tears, highlighting their calculated appearance. I'm enjoying my vacation as planned, I say, my voice steady and clear. And I'll join you all tomorrow for the zoo trip, just like we agreed last month. The silence that follows feels weightless, as if the oxygen has been sucked from our corner of the restaurant. Jessica stands frozen, her rehearsed tirade deflated by my simple refusal to engage. For the first time in 25 years, I don't rush to smooth her ruffled feathers. I don't apologize for existing on my own terms. I simply take another bite of my dinner and wait for the storm to pass. My phone vibrates against the nightstand at 11:17 p.m., jolting me from sleep. Jessica's name flashes on the screen, sending a spike of adrenaline through my veins before I even answer. Haley? Thank God you picked up. Her voice quavers with panic. Something's wrong with Mason. He's crying and won't stop. I think he might be sick. Can you come, please? I'm already stumbling out of bed, pajama pants twisted around my knees. Is he breathing okay? Did he hit his head? He's just, please hurry. Room 318. The line goes dead. I jam my feet into flip-flops, grabbing my room key and phone. The hotel hallway stretches empty before me as I race toward the elevator, heart hammering against my ribs. Mason's face flushed with fever, or worse flashes in my mind. Whatever boundaries I've set, he's still my nephew. The elevator crawls between floors. I catch my reflection in its mirrored wall hair wild, eyes wide with worry, pajama top buttoned wrong. I look exactly like what I am, a woman yanked from sleep by emergency. When I reach their door, I don't even knock, just swipe the spare key card Jessica had given me. just in case. The door swings open to reveal normalcy. The television flickers, casting blue light over the room. Tyler and Emma are sprawled on one bed, absorbed in a cartoon. And Mason, allegedly sick, allegedly crying, sits cross-legged on the floor, stacking Lego bricks with precise concentration. Jessica emerges from the bathroom, lipstick fresh, hair curled, wearing a black cocktail dress I've never seen before. "Oh good, you're here." She smiles, reaching for a clutch purse on the dresser. "Mark and I have reservations at that seafood place on the pier. The one with the jazz band? We shouldn't be too late." My throat constricts as realization slams into me. There was never an emergency. "Where's Mark?" The question comes out sharper than I intended. Jessica waves vaguely toward the door, checking on something at the front desk. "He'll be up a minute." She checks her earrings in the mirror. The kids already had dinner, but there's pizza in the fridge if they get hungry again. I stand frozen, still processing the manipulation, the careful panic in her voice, the deliberately abrupt end to our call, the calculated exploitation of my love for her children. Mason's not sick. She barely glances at me. Oh, he was crying earlier, but he's fine now." The door opens behind me. I turn, expecting Mark in matching evening wear, ready for their night out. But he's in jeans and a faded San Diego Zoo t-shirt, confusion etching his face as he takes in the scene. Jessica dressed up, me in rumpled pajamas, the perfectly content children. "What's going on?" he asks. "I thought you were checking on your sister." Jessica's smile falters. We're just..." "You told me Haley called with a problem," Mark says slowly, realization dawning. "That's why I went to ask about sending up a maintenance person." The silence that follows feels physical, like something you could touch. Jessica's mask slips, just for a second, revealing naked panic. The door opens again. My parents step in, still in their day clothes. Mom's face registers surprise at the tableau. Jessica dressed for a night out. Mark in casual clothes. Me in pajamas. "Mark texted us," Dad explains, his eyes moving from Jessica to me and back again. "Said there might be a problem." 5 adults stand in loaded silence while cartoons play in the background. Tyler glances up, sensing the tension. "Is something wrong?" "No, buddy," I say, finding my voice. "Everything's fine. You guys keep watching your show." I turn to Jessica, who's now frantically typing on her phone, probably inventing some excuse. The rage I expected to feel isn't there. Instead, I'm oddly calm, like I've stepped outside myself to observe this scene from a distance. "You faked an emergency with your child to trick me into babysitting." Jessica's eyes dart between our parents, seeking allies. "I didn't. It wasn't like that. Mason really was upset earlier." "Stop." Mark's voice cuts through her excuses. "Just stop, Jess." His face is tight with controlled anger. "You promised this wouldn't happen again." Mom steps forward, placing herself physically beside me instead of Jessica first in our family history. "This needs to stop, Jessica." Jessica's composure cracks like thin ice. "You're all against me now? After everything I've done for this family? For this vacation?" Nobody answers. Nobody needs to. The silence speaks volumes. "I'm going back to my hotel now," I say quietly. "Good night." I turn toward the door, but Jessica's sudden sob stops me. "I don't know how to do this without her help." The words burst from her like water from a broken dam. "I've always had Haley. Always. What am I supposed to do now?" Her question hangs in the air, raw and honest in a way Jessica rarely allows herself to be. For the first time, I see past her manipulations to the fear beneath. Mark crosses to his wife, placing gentle hands on her shoulders. "Then we learn," he says quietly. "Together, without putting this on your sister." Dad clears his throat. "We should have taught you both independence. Not this. That's on us." Mom nods, her eyes wet. "We created this pattern, and we let it continue far too long. For the first time in my memory, we're having an honest conversation, no manipulation, no martyr complex, no dismissing my feelings for family peace. Just truth, uncomfortable but necessary. I don't stay long after that. There's nothing more to say tonight, and I'm still processing what happened. But something fundamental has shifted in our family's tectonic plates. The next evening, I walk alone along the beach at sunset. The sky burns orange and gold above the Pacific, waves rolling in to kiss the shore in endless rhythm. For once, I'm not counting heads, cutting food, or watching the clock. I'm simply present, toes in the sand, breathing salt air. My phone buzzes. I tense reflexively, then force myself to check it calmly. It's a family photo, Jessica, Mark, and the kids building a massive sandcastle. The caption reads, "Enjoying family time, hope you're enjoying your sunset." No guilt trip, no emergency, no demand for my presence. I smile and snap a photo of the horizon, glorious in shades of fire and gold. I don't send it to anyone. This moment is mine alone, and that feels exactly right. The sizzle of burgers on the grill fills the backyard as I pull into my parents' driveway. 1 month since San Diego, and my heart still drums against my ribs when I see Jessica's minivan parked ahead of mine. I check my watch, 5:30 p.m. I'll be leaving by 7:30, as I texted everyone yesterday. I grabbed the store-bought cookies from my passenger seat. No more staying up until midnight baking for these gatherings. Aunt Haley. Emma races across the lawn, followed by her brothers. I brace for impact as they collide with my legs. "Hey, monsters." I ruffle Tyler's hair, accepting their hugs without letting them knock me off balance physically or emotionally. Jessica stands by the grill, her posture stiff as our eyes meet. She offers a tight smile, then deliberately relaxes her shoulders. Progress. "You made it," Mom says, kissing my cheek. No subtle comments about my late arrival or early departure plans. Another change. Dad flips burgers, nodding toward an empty chair. "Grab a seat, Mark's getting drinks." No immediate request to help with the kids, no assumption I'll take over cooking duty. The energy feels different, lighter, almost hesitant, as if everyone is conscious of the new ground beneath our feet. Therapy was interesting. Jessica stirs her lemonade, the ice cubes clinking against glass. Dr. Lin has some thoughts about why I've always relied on you so much. My fork pauses halfway to my mouth. That's good. We found a college student, Mom says, filling the awkward silence. She watches the kids 2 weekends a month so Jessica and Mark can have date nights. She's majoring in childhood development, Mark adds, engaged with Mason instead of buried in his phone. Costs a bit, but worth every penny. The conversation flows around me, rather than through me. Questions about my work promotion, my weekend plans with friends. Not once does anyone ask about my availability to babysit. After dinner, Jessica corners me by the kitchen sink. "I'm sorry." She scrubs a plate with unnecessary vigor. "I've been learning why I relied on you somewhat wasn't fair." The words sound rehearsed, but her knuckles are white against the sponge. This cost her something. "No, it wasn't," I agree, not erasing years with easy forgiveness. "But I appreciate you saying it." She nods, her eyes meeting mine for a flicker before darting away. "Mason drew you a picture. He misses you." I miss him too. The truth surprises me. I could take them to that dinosaur exhibit next Saturday. 2 hours, morning only. Jessica's head snaps up. "Really?" $40 an hour, booked a week in advance, no last-minute changes. I say, the terms clear and non-negotiable. "That's fair." She swallows whatever protest might have formed. "I'll text you to confirm." Dad walks in, catching the tail end. "Your mom and I think that's a good arrangement. Professional." Another shock, me parents supporting my boundaries instead of smoothing them away. Later, as we all gather for dessert, Jessica mentions Hawaii. "For next summer," she says carefully. "Separate rooms? Separate schedules? We could do some activities together, others apart." Instead of immediate refusal, I find myself considering it. Maybe. I need to see the full plan first. The possibility hangs between use family connection without exploitation. At 7:25, I stand to leave. No one tries to convince me to stay longer. "Thanks for coming," Mom says, hugging me without the usual clinging. No guilt trips, no manipulation, no expectations beyond the boundaries I've set. Walking to my car feels like floating. My phone pings as I slide behind the wheel. "Jessica, thanks for coming. No pressure for next time." I smile as I drive away, not toward my sister's demands or my parents' expectations, but toward my own life and choices. The road ahead belongs to me.